Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Tactician Heath, who is going to be a character coming to the game as part of some limited time events. More information will be released by Scopely in the future, most likely on the blog and their Discord. Now, we have had a Heath in the game before and he kind of got done dirty. He was a silver character and he was a control role that did no control. It was blasphemous, if I'm honest. Now we have a new Heath and he looks visually really cool. He's got the puffer jacket on. He's got a lot of ammunition, a lot of grenades. You know, he's maybe got a few weapons as well. An SMG on his back. He's also got a rifle in his hands. But on the left-hand side, you can see an attack shotgun, which could potentially come out as a separate weapon in a future update. But visually, that weapon actually looks really cool as well. And he's got a pal in the background. I don't think this is a known character in you know, The Walking Dead, but if it is, let me know. If we look at the stats, at level 1,440 limit break 3, he has got 32,476 attack, 22,821 defense, and again 32,476 HP. He is going to be a tough character. This time around he's going to be a tank, a gold mythic of course, and lastly he is going to be joining the Militia Allegiance. Now first up we'll take a look at Tactician Heath's Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Bursting Defenses. It's a 55 AP cost rush. Deal 50% of the primary target's max HP as main damage to a line of enemies. This fighter gets 50% bonus HP, 100% defense, and heals 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. So this isn't using any of his attack stat, it is just using the enemy's HP. This will work on attack or defense and effectively do exactly the same damage regardless of what character he hits. It'll be 50% of their max HP. So you'll just see a main bar go up to 50%. It'll be kind of interesting. The higher HP those characters have though, effectively the higher damage this is going to do. This does bypass defense rating and it bypasses bonus HP. So if someone has 200,000 bonus HP and 200,000 max HP, it'll reduce their max HP down to 100,000, but also that bonus HP will just be removed. So now they'll be sat there with 100,000 bonus HP and 100,000 max HP. This character just getting loads and loads of buffs is nice. I would see this mainly being good for a defense team, but his defense team stats are not too amazing because he's got such high attack. But otherwise, this would actually be pretty good for a defense team when it comes to the buffs here. Lots of bonus HP, massive defense buff, heal over time as well, and all lasting for 2 turns. So he should have only like a 1 turn cooldown between actually getting this up again. And it's quite a fast rush as well. However, that doesn't mean you can't try and build him for defense. We'll have to see for the rest of his kit if he can work there. But let's check out how this Adrenaline Rush works. Now, one of the best things about Heath's Adrenaline Rush is I can take out potentially a low HP character that's in the same line as a character with high max HP. If we see this line up the top, we have got Nor and Angel. Nor has very high base HP, much higher than Angel does. If I target Nor with this Adrenaline Rush, it'll do the same main damage to Angel, and it could be enough to take her out based on her max HP. Generally speaking, there aren't too many characters that have effectively double the HP of others, but characters like Nor, Clementine, and someone like Peacekeeper potentially do. So if you were to do this against Peacekeeper, the other character in that line is going to be in a lot of trouble. So you have to be aware of that when building your defenses in the future, because this character can rush Nor, he'll do main damage to Nor, but then 50%, which is enough to just straight up one-shot Angel at 47k. And you can see Nor is still quite low HP, but because she had such high base HP to begin with, double 47k, which is obviously like 94k, she is going to be enough to one-shot the character that's in front of her. I think in most defenses at the moment, like I say, you might have 30% or 40% more HP on certain characters. You've just got to be aware of putting the wrong character in the wrong line now, because he's going to punish you for it. Now jumping straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where this fighter heals for 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. At grade 5 it'll be plus 25% damage on that main, so initially it's 25% of the primary target's max HP as main damage, and then it gets boosted to 50% of the target's max HP as main damage. Then at Limit Break 2, it gets an upgrade where the main damage gets applied to the line of enemies. So obviously you want to target the character with the highest max HP, not current HP, the max HP, so you deal the most main damage when you are doing this Adrenaline Rush. I think this is actually quite a nice mechanic, being able to deal extra damage effectively to one character over the other because someone has a really high HP character on the defense team. Seems like a really cool idea, and there are a lot of really high HP characters out there, specifically characters like Nor, Peacekeeper, some of the Telltale characters because of the leader of Clementine. So if someone is using a Clementine lead and they have a non-Telltale character in that team, they will generally have a bit lower HP than the rest of the characters. So the usability of this Adrenaline Rush should be pretty good on either attack or defense. His usability on defense will come down to the rest of his kit, of course. And the next part of the kit we're going to check out is going to be Tactician Heath's signature move, and it is called Targeted Advantage. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited. Remove all positive effects from a line of enemies. One other enemy gets minus 15% defense for each positive effect that the primary target had, with a maximum of minus 90% defense for 1 turn. You also deal 1 damage to self, and this is because of the fact that Tactician Heath is going to be a Sentinel character, which will make his Guardian Shield proc again for any potential passive boost that he's going to be getting. Now, this is going to be good because removing all positive effects from a line of enemies is going to be things like Halo, which is very, very prevalent right now. Not just off of turn 1 with weapons and leader skills and passives, but also just coming into the fight in other means based on skills, signature moves, so on and so forth. So this is actually really, really good. The defense down is just a nice little bonus, generally speaking. If you were to remove the Halo from 2 enemies, though, you would probably target those 2 enemies to just get them out of the fight early on. This is going to have quite a quick cooldown as well, so you can use this quite regularly. The deal 1 damage to self, like I said, is just because of his specialist skill. So the signature move doesn't look too bad. He so far has not used his attack stat at all, so it doesn't look like raising this guy's attack stat is useful at all, which is actually pretty good news if you do want to use him on defense, because boosting his HP and defense seems to be the way to go to use him on attack, and that means he's got a better viability on defense teams as well. But let's check out how this signature move works when it comes to removing those effects, particularly Halo. Okay, so we are going to be attacking a Telltale defense team here, and Telltale have generally a couple of buffs running just because of their kits, but they have got an extra one here because Gold Mythic Lock is in the team, giving damage over time reduction. If we see the buffs on Omid right now, he has got damage over time reduction, trauma resist, and Halo. This is 3 positive effects, and that means I should be giving out 45% defense down to one of the other characters that is not Omid. I will also remove the buffs off the line of enemies, so you can see that the character in the background is Luke, but it might actually be better to focus Luke because you can see he's also got a defense buff, so now it should be minus 60% defense down. I will do that. Let's see who got the defense down. It did land on Krista. She could have resisted it, but it is going to be 60% defense down. That means any damage coming in here is going to be nukish, but also these characters no longer have Halo on them. And that is a big, big deal, especially against teams like the Telltale team. This team, like I said, has quite a lot of buffs. Another team that has quite a lot of buffs and Halo is going to be like a Davy team. So, you know, there could be some usability against those 2 heavy Halo-based teams. If we look at the upgrades at grade 2, it gets an upgrade where one other enemy gets 15 defense down for each positive effect that the primary target had, with a maximum 90% for 1 turn. At grade 4, it gets -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a turn 2 starting cooldown down to a turn 1 starting cooldown. Nice and early. Rarely see starting cooldown being at grade 4. At limit break 1, you see -1 to cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn cooldown down to a 1-turn cooldown. I think this is quite nice to get, obviously, because you want to have as early a cooldown as possible to be able to get this off and get rid of those negative effects constantly. This can remove things like decat resist, you know, stuff like this, which is very, very annoying on buffs. And then in limit break 3, it gets an upgrade where it deals 1 damage to self and that is to remove the Guardian Shield to make the Guardian Shield proc at the beginning of the enemy's turn, and then obviously proc any passives, which we will look at later on in the video. So I think this signature move is very, very nice indeed. If you look at it as if he is guaranteeing a full ransack on any line of enemies that he does this against. So for instance, let's say there's 10 buffs on 2 characters in a line, you can never steal those away with a ransack character. But with Heath, he would just fully cleanse those buffs. They're going to be fully gone, no matter who they are. It does mean that he effectively can bypass you needing a ransack on an attack team, which almost is vital these days. So Tactician Heath could be really nice with other parts of his kit that you'll be adding to the table as well. I really like this signature move. Halo, like I say, is everywhere, and having a way to deal with it just on a basic cleanse of the enemy is a nice one. We had a lot of cleanse of enemies on very early release characters when we had the Mythic era start, but we haven't had too many recently. But here's Tactician Heath, and I think he's doing a great job. The defense down is a nice little bonus. Like I say, you won't necessarily target the character that gets the defense down. That's the only problem, because if you're removing buffs from a line, you're most likely going to try and target that line of enemies, right? Unless you take out those enemies like instantly and quickly with like one character, like someone like Eva and Ghost, and then move on to the defense down character, that's probably something that you could do. But I like this signature move. I think it is going to be usable on attack mainly, but it will have some usability on defense as well. Now, checking out Tactician Heath's mythic abilities, these are his passive skills. He is going to have strength, of course, because he is a tank, so he will have 40% critical hit resistance. He will also have tough concentration, and at the start of each wave, 100% chance all teammates get focused for 1 turn, plus 1 turn for each other tough teammate. This is kind of interesting, because an entire team getting focus is nice for attack and actually for defense as well. So, like I say, usability on attack and defense seems to continue. The next one is called Impaired Focus. Whenever an enemy gains focus, 70% chance a random enemy gets impaired for 2 turns. Now, what's funny about this is if you use Heath on defense, he counters Heath being used on attack, which is kind of hilarious, I think. Being able to, like, effectively counter yourself, because obviously he's giving a massive boost here to focus. Now he's got 70% chance to give random enemies impair if that happens when he's on the defense team. Like I say, kind of amusing. His usability on defense is increasing. And then lastly, he has Confused Protection. When this fighter gains a Guardian Shield, 100% chance a random enemy gets confused for 1 turn. This is, again, going to work on attack and defense, because he gains the Guardian Shield at the beginning of the fight. Like, straight away, the second the fight starts, he'll gain a Guardian Shield. That means a defense character will actually confuse a attack team character straight away before they get a chance to have their turn. The only way they can bypass that is with focus, and if they have focus, they're going to get punished with impaired focus. So that's kind of a nice, like, layered protection there for Tactician Heath, where the only bypass of that Confused Protection is going to be countered by impaired focus. I like that quite a lot, actually. The kit has come together quite nicely, and like I said, I think this character can be used on attack or defense. If you use him on defense, though, you're going to have to buff his stats massively for survivability. Okay, so just for a bit of fun, I did decide to use Heath on attack and defense. And you can see, because I did that, my entire attack team is impaired. All the 70% procced, every single one, for me getting focus on my entire team. I did counter the fact that I am confused on both teams, because both teams have focus. But I am now fully impaired on my attack team, and pretty much fully impaired on my defense team. At least 3-4 characters that I can see are impaired on defense as well. So yeah, very heavy control potential, and Heath versus Heath seems like a death sentence. If you see a Heath on defense, if you use him on attack, it's going to be an absolutely crazy sort of fight. Looking at the upgrades on the passives, you can see at grade 1, the first half of Tough Concentration comes in, where at the start of each turn, 50% chance all teammates get focused for 1 turn, plus 1 turn for each other tough teammate. Grade 2, the first half of Strength comes in, giving 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3, Tough Concentration 2 comes in, making a 100% chance all teammates get focused for 1 turn, plus 1 turn for each other tough teammate. Remember, Heath himself does count as a tough teammate, but not for this passive. So he will only be 1 turn if it's just Heath in the team as a tough character. Now, if we look at grade 4 and 5, impaired focus comes in at grade 4. Whenever an enemy gains focus, 40% chance a random enemy gets impaired for 2 turns. At grade 5, confused protection, when this fighter gains a guardian shield, 50% chance a random enemy gets confused for 1 turn. As we move on to the limit breaks, you can see strength 2 comes in, making it 40% critical hit resistance total. At limit break 2, impaired focus 2 comes in, making it a 70% chance total that a random enemy gets impaired for 2 turns whenever an enemy gets focus on the other team. So for instance, like I showed, if a full team gets focus, you have the potential for the full team to also get impaired. Lastly, confused protection 2 comes in at limit break 3. When this fighter gains a guardian shield, it will now have a 100% chance a random enemy gets confused for 1 turn. Tactician Heath will be getting guardian shields on a fairly regular basis, at least a few times a fight, because his signature move does remove his guardian shield, and it obviously procs at the beginning of his turn and the enemy team's turn. If the enemy focus him in a fight, then he'll obviously be proccing it a lot more often. The passives really do come together with the kit. Nothing relies on him doing anything on attack. It is just bonuses with control. So I would say this character still can be used on attack and defense teams without too much of a problem. And because nothing in his kit relies on attack, you should be boosting that HP and defense up as high as you can. Now we'll just take a look at it, but we have gone over this specialist skill in recent times. It is Sentinel. At the start of combat and every turn, defensive and offensive, this fighter gets a guardian shield. As long as they don't have one already, this should proc anything in their passives that does require them, getting guardian shields. For instance, the Confuse in Tactician Heath's kit, he does deal 1 damage to himself on his signature move, and that will mean that at the beginning of the fight, he'll start the fight, get a guardian shield, confuse somebody, his guardian shield will be removed, and it will go to the enemy team's turn, and then he'll confuse someone again. So potentially he could have 2 people confused off of turn 1 with this specialist skill in combination with that passive. Let's just check that out quickly. Okay, so here we are attacking, and you can see I've confused somebody because I gained the guardian shield from Sentinel. I'm going to use my signature move against the bottom line. It will remove my guardian shield because it will do 1 damage to myself, and then I'll get another guardian shield on top because of it proccing on both my turn, the attacking team's turn, and the defensive team's turn. So you can see the guardian shield just got removed. You should see the specialist shield come back. There we go. And then we also have a character on the defense team in Molly get confused. Now my guardian shield will come back again because I got attacked, and now you can see another character got confused for the beginning of the next turn. This time around, I will not be able to remove my guardian shield because I can only do it with my signature move. However, if I was to do the main damage against like a payback, even if I had damage reduction, which I have right now, the counter damage reduction, that still removes guardian shield. So you can still kind of cheese it a little bit if you wanted. But this is really good because someone like Nor gives herself Halo and Decap resistance off of turn 1. So having a Confuse going against a character like that is a very nice bonus for sure. So pretty nice combo with Sentinel and his passives. That means that obviously he can confuse 2 people potentially off of turn 1 when attacking. So that's a lot of early control. Stops a lot of teams using their signature moves. Very nice indeed. Now lastly, Tactician Heath does not have an attached weapon. He just has the default weapon. This does mean you can put whatever weapon you want in his hands. On attack, he doesn't do too many hits. So anything that is attack based, so for instance like Impair on attack, he's not going to proc that too often. I would say you probably want to give him some things that do buffs. Something like do buffs for his teammates, or maybe even some heals. I think there is some healing weapons out there when it comes to the 3rd slot. Being able to heal teammates from time to time is a nice little bonus. On defense teams, you just want to give him a full heavy stat weapon, maybe elusive impair, maybe some extra HP on the bottom line, or a special on the bottom line like Daze. You've probably got one of these weapons lying around. That would just fit absolutely perfectly onto Tactician Heath here. So that was the first look at Gold Mythic Tactician Heath. Like I said, this character will be part of some limited time events. More information from Scopely to follow. But he does look like quite a nice character. Like I said, There is definitely some usability on attack and potentially some niche usability on defense based on the rest of Tactician Heath's team, but he seems to do reasonably good control, punishing teams that do use certain skills, for instance, focus, but also he's just going to be confusing characters as well, which is obviously like a benefit there. So yeah, I like it quite a lot, especially for attack, but I've got no doubt I'll see him used on defense. If I see Dario get used on defense, I'm probably going to see Tactician Heath get used on defense as well. But do tell me what you think about Tactician Heath. Let me know in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.